Just look at the jump, guys, through his career. As a freshman, learning the game, 9 points, 4 rebounds, and then you see what he did his junior year.
What if I told you the next big NBA duo isn't who you think? Forget about superstar pairings. The basketball world is buzzing about a 5'8" point guard and a 7'4" center who are rewriting the rules. Yuki Kawamura and Edey are shocking fans, players, and coaches alike. Their on-court chemistry is off the charts, but that's not even the craziest part. Wait till you see how they're making defenders look silly and changing the game forever. Picture this, a 5'8" point guard standing next to a 7'4" center. Sounds crazy, right? But that's exactly what we've got with Yuki Kawamura and Edey. These two couldn't be more different on paper.
I'll tell you why I like the fit with the Grizzlies. Jaren Jackson needs a 5 next to him. That's why. They tried to play Jaren Jackson. Steve Kerr tried to play him at the 5 in the USA games, and the Memphis tried to play him at the 5 this year. He missed Steven Adams quite a bit.
But together, they're turning heads all over the basketball world. Let's talk about where these guys came from. Kawamura grew up in Japan. Always the shortest kid on the court. He had to fight for every minute of playing time, developing lightning-quick reflexes and killer court vision just to keep up. Edey, he's from Canada, and get this, he didn't even start playing basketball seriously until he was 16. Can you imagine being that tall and not playing ball? When they first teamed up, everyone thought it was a joke. Critics were brutal. They said Kawamura was too small to survive in the pros, that he'd get crushed on defense. And Edey, they laughed at his lack of experience, saying he was just a big body with no real skills. You know what's crazier? Some people even said they'd make each other worse on the court. But here's the thing. All that doubt just fired them up.
They were big time with points in the paint. Last season, they were dead last. John Moran only played 9 games. Yeah. He'll be back. You know he's the focal point, okay? But you need a big to give you some kind of presence.
Kawamura spent hours in the gym, working on his speed and agility. He'd practice weaving through defenders using Edey as a giant moving screen. Edey, meanwhile, focused on his footwork and touch around the rim. He knew with Kawamura's passing, he'd get plenty of chances to score. Their size difference? That became their secret weapon. Defenders never knew how to guard them. Do you focus on the little guy zipping around, or the giant who can dunk without jumping? It was a nightmare for opposing teams. Then came that first big game together. Nobody saw it coming. Kawamura was threading passes through impossible gaps, finding Edey for easy bucket after easy bucket. When teams tried to double team Edey, he'd kick it out to Kawamura for wide open threes. By the final buzzer, they had combined for 50 points and 15 assists. The crowd went wild, and just like that, a new dynamic duo was born. But you know what? That was just the beginning. These two were about to take their game to a whole new level, and the basketball world wasn't ready for what was coming next. Remember when everyone said Kawamura was too small and Edey was too slow? Well, they didn't just prove the critics wrong. They created a whole new style of play. How exactly did these two rewrite the rules of basketball? The answer might surprise you. Let's talk about what we usually expect from point guards and centers. Point guards, they're supposed to be quick, sure, but mostly they set up plays and distribute the ball. Centers, big guys who plant themselves near the basket, grab rebounds, and maybe score some close-range shots. But Kawamura and Edey, they looked at those expectations and said, nah, we're doing our own thing. Kawamura isn't just quick. He's like a human pinball out there. He zips around the court so fast, defenders can barely keep track of him. But here's the crazy part. While he's moving at light speed, he sees everything. It's like he's got eyes in the back of his head. He'll thread passes through gaps that don't even look like they exist. And when he does shoot, he's got this knack for releasing the ball at the perfect moment, just when the defender thinks they've got him blocked. Now, you'd think a guy Edey's size would be slow and clumsy, right? Wrong. He moves like a guy half his size. He's got these soft hands that can catch any pass Kawamura throws his way, no matter how wild it looks. And when he gets the ball, he's not just dunking. He's got this arsenal of hook shots and fadeaways that are practically unblockable. How do you stop a shot from a guy who's releasing the ball 10 feet in the air? But you know what's really insane? Their pick and roll game. It's like they've got some kind of telepathic connection. Kawamura will call for a screen, and before the defender even realizes what's happening, Edey's there. Then Kawamura's darting around him. The defense is scrambling, and boom, either Kawamura's got an open lane to the basket, or Edey's rolling for an easy dunk. It's poetry in motion. The stats don't lie. When these two are on the court together, their team's offensive efficiency goes through the roof. We're talking a 15% increase in points per possession. Their assist-to-turnover ratio, off the charts. And get this, in clutch moments, when the game's on the line, their shooting percentage actually goes up. It's like the pressure just makes them better. But here's the thing. As amazing as these numbers are, they don't tell the whole story. There's something else going on with Kawamura and Edey. Something you can't measure with stats. Think oil and water don't mix? Think again. Kawamura and Edey are about as different as two guys can be, but their unlikely friendship might just be the real key to their on-court dominance. Off the court, these two couldn't be more opposite. Kawamura is this ball of energy, always cracking jokes and pulling pranks on his teammates. Edey, he's the quiet giant, more likely to be found with his nose in a book than at a party. You'd think they'd clash, right? But nope, they clicked from day one. So how did these polar opposites become best buds? It all started with video games. Turns out, both of them are huge gamers. They'd spend hours after practice battling it out on NBA 2K. That's where they really started to bond. They'd talk trash, laugh, and before they knew it, they were hanging out all the time. But it's not just fun and games with these two. They push each other to be better. Kawamura is always dragging Edey to extra shooting sessions. And Edey, he's teaching Kawamura how to cook healthy meals to fuel up for games. They're like brothers, always having each other's backs. You can see it on the court too. When Kawamura is having a rough game, Edey's right there, giving him a pep talk. And if someone tries to intimidate Kawamura, you better believe Edey's gonna step in. That trust and support, it makes them fearless on the court. Their teammates and coaches can't stop talking about their friendship. Their point guard coach said, "I've never seen two players so in sync. It's like they can read each other's minds out there." Even the head coach admitted he was skeptical at first, but now he calls them the heart and soul of the team. Want to know how deep their bond goes? Check this out. Last year, Edey's mom got sick right before a big game. Kawamura found out and told the coach to start someone else. He spent the whole game sitting with Edey, just being there for his friend. The team won, but that wasn't what mattered to Kawamura and Edey that night. Kawamura and Edey aren't just changing how the game is played. They're showing that friendship can bridge any gap, even a 20-inch height difference. But here's the thing, not everyone's thrilled about this dynamic duo shaking up the basketball world. So Kawamura and Edey were on top of the world, right? Wrong. Their feel-good story was about to hit a major roadblock. Picture this, a tidal wave of criticism so harsh, it threatened to derail everything they'd built. How could two guys who seemed unstoppable suddenly find themselves fighting for respect? The skeptics came out in full force. Sports analysts were brutal. They said Kawamura's size would make him a liability on defense. "He'll get posted up every play," one ESPN commentator shouted. Others claimed Edey was too slow to keep up with the modern NBA pace. "He's a dinosaur in a league of cheetahs," a popular podcast host sneered. Social media was even worse. Fans posted memes comparing Kawamura to a chihuahua trying to guard a Great Dane. Edey got photoshopped as a tree with roots, implying he couldn't move. It was ugly, and for a while, it got to them. Kawamura started second-guessing himself on the court. He'd hesitate before taking shots, worried about proving the critics right. Edey got frustrated, trying to sprint up and down the court instead of playing his game. Their chemistry suffered, and suddenly, that unstoppable duo looked, well, pretty stoppable. But here's where it gets good. Instead of letting the hate tear them apart, it brought them closer. They decided to tune out all the noise. No more social media, no more reading articles. They focused on each other and their teammates. Kawamura and Edey started having long talks after practice, hyping each other up and reminding themselves why they were so good together. Their new motto? Prove them wrong every night. And boy, did they. Remember that game against the Celtics everyone said would expose them? Kawamura came out on fire, dropping 15 assists and picking the Celtics guards clean 3 times. Edey? He dominated the paint, blocking 7 shots and grabbing 20 rebounds. But the real moment that shut everyone up came in the 4th quarter. Boston had been doubling Edey all game, daring Kawamura to shoot. With 10 seconds left and down by 2, everyone knew the ball was going to the big man, except it didn't. Kawamura faked the pass, stepped back, and drained a 3 right in his defender's face. Game over. The crowd went nuts. Teammates mobbed them. Even some of the harshest critics had to admit these two were for real. So what's next for Kawamura and Edey? The sky's the limit, and they're just getting started. Kawamura and Edey are doing more than just winning games. They're showing everyone that basketball isn't about fitting into a mold. It's about finding your unique strengths and using them to their fullest. These guys prove that heart and teamwork can overcome any physical limitation. You know what's wild? Their success is opening doors for players who don't fit the typical NBA profile. Scouts are looking at shorter players and less experienced big men in a whole new light. Who knows? The next big sensation might be a 7-foot point guard or a 5'6" center. The lesson here is clear. Don't let anyone tell you what you can't do. Kawamura and Edey faced doubters at every turn, but they kept pushing. Now they're on top of the basketball world, so keep your eyes open because the next unlikely pair to shake up sports could be right around the corner. In this game, anything's possible if you've got the skill and the will to make it happen.